Hi, it's Kane with S&B, and today we're going to be installing our 42-gallon replacement tank for the 2022 and up Storytellers. This is a direct replacement of the OEM. We use the existing plumbing, comes with a new level sender on the side that still works with the same module, as well as with your computer up front. And this is, again, a direct replacement. We do remove the storage compartment that was right here, but now you get twice as much water, and follow along as I show you how to do it. First step is going to be opening this up, finding the black knob that's right in front of you, and twisting the knob towards you. If you can see in there, it's right there. And that's going to drain the tank completely, so we don't have to remove the tank when there's water in there, because the water will get all over your garage or your Storyteller, and that won't be good. So the first step is going to be removing all these trim pieces. The first piece to be removed will be this corner piece. There's another corner piece down there. We got the metal trim, the top metal trim, and then the corner metal trims. Then we're going to be keeping track of all the different screws and the different compartments on our silicone tool tray. So we'll get started. Now behind those trim pieces are these different kinds of screws that are holding this wooden panel to the compartment. So we're going to go and find all these above as well as to the side. Once you have all the screws out, we're going to be taking this panel off. Before we do so, we're going to remove the connector for the cargo lights. Now we're going to be removing these end trim pieces on this side as well. Then after that, we're going to go and remove these screws that are holding the wood down into the aluminum. Now we're going to lower this side of the bed so we can get to some top screws. Once you lower the bed, we'll get on these last two screws that are holding this trim piece on. Now once the screws are all removed from the top panel, all the trim pieces are gone. Now we're going to be removing this portion of the bed as well as the top panel. It is good to get a hand for this part because it'll take a little bit of finesse to get it out from that corner. So let's see, lift up. Now that the top panel's off, we're going to be removing the storage box. This will not be reused. Now we're going to remove the electrical connector for the center unit. We're going to remove this bracket. This is a 1/2-inch socket. After we do the electrical connector here, those two bolts, we're going to go do this electrical connector for the monitor. And we're going to use a socket to get on the bolts back here. So these bolts are going the other way compared to the other side. Now we're going to remove the two connections on the top. Now we're going to remove the bottom connector. We drained as much water as we could out before starting the install, but still a good idea to put some paper towels under because not all the water Will drain out when you do drain it. There'll be some left over. And this top electrical connector that's connected to the monitor, to remove, depress this back fin. So you can see it back there. You just stick your thumb in, depress the fin, and pull out. Now we can remove the top support. We will be reusing that. And now we're going to remove the tank. The trick to removing the tank is to slide it all the way forward. Make sure there's nothing contacting the tank forward, and just to roll it out. Now that we have the stock tank out of the vehicle, we're going to be removing this half-inch vent fitting. Now we're going to put some pipe dope on the threads. And we are going to go over to the bottom port on the S&B tank. We're going to start it in by hand. These are MPT, so they're not going to go all the way in, but to make sure we don't cross thread, we're going to get it going by hand. Then we're going to give a few turns. There we go, that's perfect. Now we're gonna flip over the stock tank and we're gonna remove the drain. Now, as you can see, the distance from the threads is about like a finger's height. So they're, not all the threads are gonna be engaged since it is MPT, and it's plastic as well, so it's really soft. So we're gonna remove this, apply a little bit more. And we're going to flip over the new S&B. If we can balance it. And we'll go over here and install this into the half-inch. Again by hand. Then just a couple turns. That's perfect. Now we're going to take the included 3/4 inch brass nipple. We're going to get this going by hand. And then a few turns. And before putting the S&B tank in, we are going to be putting our extension brackets. The one with 4 circles is going to go towards the front of the vehicle. This will have 2 welded nuts on the top. And on the rear extension bracket, these bolts will go right into the weld nut. Then make sure the bracket's extended up in this slot before tightening. Now, because the S&B tank is taller, we're gonna, this is the overflow vent, so we're gonna need to reroute it and extend it. So first we're gonna go through and just snip these zip ties. And this foam pad is gonna come out. Then we'll remove this. This is coming straight from that overflow. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, we're gonna pull the overflow out of the bottom of the van. And it's gonna go over the bracket just like this. Now that hose that we just removed, we're gonna put some pipe dope around this nipple. Then the provided S&B 90. We are gonna get this nice and tight. Then once that's on there good, we're gonna reconnect it back into that same plastic fitting. Make sure you don't cross thread these. And back it off. And there you go. Now we are ready to put the S&B tank into place, making sure all the hoses are out of the way. So the tank will drop in. Again, make sure these hoses are out of the way. It'll just fall right into place. And this black electrical will go up into this cut on the tank and follow these white lines. Now we'll be installing the top bracket. We removed these 2 pads, rubber pads. Those pads can be reused, but it makes it a lot easier to install without it, or you're gonna have to be putting a lot of downforce to get it started. And starting over here, get these bolts started by hand. S&B includes 4 new bolts. And this is the side here that has the weld nuts on the back. So we'll put some down pressure and get these started. Now because the tank's taller, the sensor won't fit anymore. So we are going to remove this from the wood. And we are going to reposition it with some zip ties on top of this metal bar. Now first plug in this to the back of the monitor, as well as this gray one. Then I already positioned the zip tie underneath the bracket. We are going to go through the top. That second zip tie goes through, up. And get that one nice and tight. Now we're going to take the nipple that we took off of the original tank, put a little bit more pipe sealant on there. Then we are going to get this going in this 1/2 inch female. In just a few turns. Now we're going to take the 3/4 inch. This was included by S&B. Some sealant around here. And get this one going by hand. Now finally the bottom. Now while we're down here, we're going to get this going as well on the bottom fitting. And also while we're down here, we're going to remove this hose clamp for the heat. We're going to back this off real quick, as it's going to make it a lot easier for us to get the included hose that's going to go on the bottom of here and go through the floor. So we're extending the drain since the tank's taller. So we're going to slip on a hose that's going to go from there to there. Now we're going to push on the hose into the end of the vent. We're going to take our hose clamp and tighten it up. Loosen it up first here. Now shove the hose into the hole through the van, and some putty did come off around here, so you can replace that putty right there. Perfect seal. Now we're going to reconnect the heater hose. Just slide it back on and get that hose clamp tightened up. Now we're going to do the 3/4 inch. Now this last hose was over here, but this was going to come through here now. The last step before we put the side panel on and the covers back on is connecting the sending unit, which is on this side, to the electrical connector for the sending unit. And don't mess this up with the cargo light connector, but we're going to test this before we put on the side panel to make sure that this is the cargo light connector. Now we're going to hold battery in fresh to reprogram this sensor so it knows it has 2 sensors stacked. Once it says FRS, we are going to release, and we're going to hit fresh to get this to 2. So now it's 2 SE. We're going to go to battery. Now once you hit fresh, after reprogramming, it'll say 0, and that's correct because we don't have any water in the tank. Now before you put the panels back on, you can put the top panel back on, or you can do the fill test now. So fill the tank up completely and check for leaks, because now is a good time to fix the leak if there is a leak before you put on the side panel. But again, you can put on the top panel now, then go do the fill test, or you do the fill test now, then put the top panel on. Up to you. Now we're putting the top panel on the same way we took it off, using the legs to give us some support. We're going to get in that back corner first. Now we're first going to put in this corner trim piece. Line it up until you see the holes, and again, it's only the top 2 holes. That hole on the corner is for that plastic trim piece. Now we're going to take these longer black screws that go right here. And then there's 2 more. Now we're going to put in this last trim piece. You're gonna have to hammer it in a little bit. Let's see. Do your best to find the hole that was already drilled. Now once that hole is exposed and you can see that hole there, we'll secure this last trim piece into place. And you can see I did leave enough room right there on that hole. Now as we're doing the fill test, make sure to check these connectors as well as the bottom connector to make sure there's no signs of water coming out at all. And then obviously, once the tank is full, you'll see it dripping out of the bottom. Then the fill test is complete and we'll put on this side panel. Now we're gonna be putting on the side panel. When we do this, first we're gonna test to make sure the cargo lights are working. We'll go over here, hit cargo lights. They come on, we're good. So now we're gonna make sure that this wire is out of the way. Now we're gonna begin with the longer screws that anchor into the aluminum. An easy way to get this started is to get the screw in a little bit and line it up with the existing hole. There we go, that's perfect. Now these smallest screws are going to go back in the plastic trim. Now the installation is complete. The Storyteller side panel is back on. Looks just like it did when it came to us. If you have any questions or you just want to find out more, please give us a call or shoot us a message on our website. Thanks.